How do you go from being the Heisman favorite, a projected first rounder, a potential first overall pick, and leading your team to the championship, to the very next season, getting booed off the field by every single one of your fans, getting benched and getting your job taken by a freshman, and seemingly being forgotten? To make things worse, you're perceived as a self-centered player and a horrible leader because of a TV show that happened all the way in high school. Your image is stained with character issues that follow you all the way to the NFL. NFL teams actively try to avoid you in the drafts, and despite your undeniable talent, you fall all the way to pick 150 in the 5th round. The previous quarterback was drafted 138 picks in front of you. Obviously, there must be a reason why, despite being seen as one of the top prospects at one point, you get drafted in the 5th round of the 2024 NFL drafts. But it's not just one reason. A lot of different factors played into the rise and fall of Spencer Rattler. In all honesty, he has one of the craziest football careers I've ever seen. His story is filled with ups and downs, either caused by himself,
You just ain't hard. You're sensitive, boy. You a girl.
or just simply some bad luck.
The chant is, "We want Caleb."
As in Caleb Williams, the backup quarterback,
True freshman.
who is the #1.
Born in Phoenix, Arizona, Spencer Rattler's talent was glaring since the second he laid his hands on a football. At just 2 years old, he was already skillfully throwing footballs. Spencer Rattler played youth tackle football from a young age and always stood out. He led his team to winning the national championship and was named the 2012 United Youth Football League Player of the Year. One thing definitely stood out about young Spencer Rattler though, and that was the sheer amount of confidence he had in himself. Rattler never doubted his own ability. He would always tell his coaches and peers, "I got this," and would execute any play or throw that his coach requested. Spencer Rattler was better than everyone else growing up, and he knew it. Rattler began attending Pinnacle High School in 2015. Getting the starting varsity quarterback job was almost guaranteed for him, and sure enough, he got the starting job in his freshman year of high school. His freshman season had its ups and downs, but it was obvious that he was getting better as the season went on. Rattler finished his freshman season with almost 2,400 passing yards, a 56% completion rate, and 19 touchdowns. And year after year, he was only getting better. By the end of his sophomore season, he had 14 D1 offers, one of which was the University of Oklahoma, the school that he would eventually commit and sign to. Now, Rattler's junior season was probably his most accomplished season. He took another giant leap forward, adding 1,000 yards for a total of 3,946 passing yards, and also throwing for 45 touchdowns. He also led his team all the way to the quarterfinals of the 2017 Arizona 6A state championship, but they lost 77-52 to the Chandler Wolves. Rattler threw for 580 passing yards and threw for 5 touchdowns. He did all he could. This junior season was really when he started to get a lot of eyes on him, which is why he got offered to star in a show documenting his next season, his senior season. The show is called Quarterback 1: Beyond the Lights. This show focuses on 3 senior quarterbacks every season and documents everything regarding their last season. What Spencer Rattler and his family probably thought was a harmless show turned out to have some pretty big consequences for his future. Rattler started off the season incredible with a 415 passing yard and 4 touchdown performance against Perry High School. He was on pace to outperform his previous season, but what the numbers did not show is what was going on behind the scenes. The show Quarterback 1 put on display to everyone how Rattler was as a person and a teammate, and let's just say, people were not happy with what they saw. Many times throughout the show, Rattler would blame other teammates, even yell at them and put them down.
What are you doing?
Sometimes he was just straight up insulting them.
You're soft. You just ain't hard. You're sensitive, boy. You a girl.
And to make things worse, 7 games into the season, Spencer Rattler was suspended from the team for violating a district code of conduct. No one knows what he did, but his senior season ended there. And even though a lot of people looked at him differently, his talent was still undeniable. Spencer Rattler was ranked as the best quarterback in the class of 2019 and would begin attending the University of Oklahoma and play for the Sooners. Spencer Rattler would be sitting behind starting quarterback Jalen Hurts in his true freshman season, but got almost no playing time. So he would redshirt his freshman season and would get a chance at winning the starting job next season. Before I get into how Spencer Rattler played in his redshirt freshman season, I just want to add some more context. This Oklahoma team was really good. They had been the Big 12 Conference Championships 5 years in a row, and a large part of that was because yes, they had quarterbacks like Hurts, Baker Mayfield, and Kyler Murray, but it was also because their O-line was one of the best in the country. Spencer Rattler was put in a good situation to succeed. He made his starting debut for the Oklahoma Sooners in the season opener against Missouri State, and it was an impressive one, completing 4 of his 17 passes for 290 yards and 4 touchdowns, and winning 48-0. However, in just the very next game, the Oklahoma Sooners would get upset by Kansas State, losing 38-35. And a large part of why they lost that game is because Spencer Rattler threw 3 interceptions. The very next game, the Sooners got upset again, this time by Iowa State. And even though he was coming off 2 brutal losses, Rattler would not lose again. In the very next game against their rivals, the Texas Longhorns, he threw for 209 yards and had 4 touchdowns and won 53-45 in a game that went to 4 overtimes. This marked the start of an 8-game winning streak where Rattler led the Oklahoma Sooners to getting their revenge against Iowa State in the Big 12 Championship and blowing out the Florida Gators to win the Cotton Bowl. Spencer Rattler had 3,000 passing yards, 28 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 6 rushing touchdowns in his first season as a starter. The only notable accolade that Rattler won in the 2020 season was being named first team All Big 12. Even though he didn't win anything too major this season, the future was looking very promising for Rattler, and everyone around him agreed. As a result, going into the 2021 season, he was actually the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. 2021 could have been the year of Spencer Rattler, but as you can probably tell from the title, that turned out to be pretty short-lived. In the 2021 season, Rattler led the team to winning the first 5 games of the season. That's pretty good, right? Well, not exactly. The Oklahoma Sooners did win those 5 games, but 4 of those were one-score games, and they were against pretty bad teams. These games didn't have to be that close, but they were. As each game went on, the pressure started to rise more and more. It got to the point that in Game 4 against West Virginia, after Rattler threw an interception, the fans started chanting this.
We want Caleb.
As in Caleb Williams, the backup.
In that 5-game span, Rattler threw for 10 touchdowns, but also 5 interceptions. He was playing poorly to say the least. After playing 5 bottom-of-the-barrel teams to start the season, the Oklahoma Sooners finally faced their first good opponent, the 21th-ranked Texas Longhorns, their rivals. Obviously, this game means a lot to the Sooners and their fan base. They weren't going to be happy with Spencer Rattler losing them this game, and as much as I'd like to say that Rattler overcame the pressure, he did not. He started the game off completing 7 of his 12 passes for 62 yards and an interception, and the Sooners were down 28-7. To start the second quarter, Spencer Rattler was benched on a 4th and 1 for his backup quarterback, Caleb Williams, the future Heisman winner and first overall pick in this year's draft. And unfortunately for Rattler, in only Caleb's first touch, he brought it 66 yards to the house for a touchdown. However, Rattler was still given another chance in the next 2 drives. But after fumbling the ball away and going down 17-35, Lincoln Riley, the head coach, knew that he was done with Spencer Rattler. Caleb led the Oklahoma Sooners to completing an improbable comeback and winning 55-48. Rattler's time as a Sooners starting quarterback was officially over and was immediately replaced by Caleb Williams. Rattler could have transferred the moment he lost his starting job. Instead, he decided to ride out the rest of the season on the bench at Oklahoma. Just last season, he had everything in the palm of his hands. Heisman favorite, projected first rounder, projected first overall pick, won the Big 12 and the Cotton Bowl, and was seen as a star. In less than a year, Rattler lost almost everything, one of those even being his respect. Again, many people didn't like how Rattler handled the situation. When Caleb Williams scored that touchdown, Rattler was not happy. No smile, no celebration, nothing. Not a single word or expression on his face. Of course, I don't think many people are going to be celebrating someone taking their job, but they're still a team, and Rattler was not showing any leadership. Shortly after the season ended, Spencer Rattler announced that he was going to be transferring to the University of South Carolina to play for the Gamecocks. This meant that he was going to be playing in the SEC, a tougher conference than the Big 12. The Gamecocks were also significantly worse than the Sooners. They had a lot of offensive problems, but probably the biggest thing was that the O-line was really bad, one of the worst in the entire conference. But the South Carolina Gamecocks were giving Spencer Rattler the starting job, and it was a fresh start, so he decided to go forward with it. Spencer Rattler made his debut in Week 1 of the 2020 season against Georgia State. He threw for 227 yards, 1 touchdown, but also 2 interceptions. The Gamecocks would still win 35-14. His first 10 games of the season were pretty bad. Week 11 though, is when one of the most unexpected and bizarre games took place. The Gamecocks would be playing against number 5 ranked Tennessee. Tennessee was heavily favored to win this game. They were by far the better team, is what everyone believed, but Spencer Rattler and the Gamecocks thought otherwise. Rattler had not just his best game of the season, but probably the best game of his career. He absolutely torched Tennessee's defense, completing 30 of his 37 passes for 438 yards and 6 touchdowns. South Carolina stunned the Tennessee Volunteers and upset them 63-38, eliminating them from playoff contention. The following week, the Gamecocks faced number 8 ranked Clemson, and after being down 14-0, Spencer Rattler led the team to making a comeback and upsetting Clemson 31-30. Back-to-back wins against top 10 teams, the first time this had ever happened in school history. Despite starting off the season really mediocre, Spencer Rattler really stepped up in these 2 games. The Gamecocks ended the season at a respectable 8-5 record. Spencer Rattler announced that he would be returning for the 2023 season, but the Gamecocks really found no notable success that season. They ended the season with only a 5-7 record. Individually though, Rattler had a pretty alright season. After 5 years in college filled with ups and downs, Spencer Rattler finally declared for the NFL draft. Now, we all know that he fell to the 5th round, but why exactly did he fall so low? The most interesting factor by far is that a lot of NFL teams didn't like what they saw from him in high school on that TV show. Yeah, teams were genuinely hesitant on choosing Rattler because of a TV show in high school. Another factor was that there just weren't that many teams that needed quarterbacks by the time he came around. Before Spencer Rattler, 6 quarterbacks had been chosen already, all in the 1st round. Bo Nix was the 6th quarterback chosen at pick 12. 138 picks later, Spencer Rattler was chosen as the 7th quarterback. Every team that needed a quarterback got their guy in the 1st round. But one of the most likely reasons Rattler fell so low is simply because teams just didn't think he was too good. He did have a pretty underwhelming college career after all, except for that one Oklahoma year. But many still see Spencer Rattler as a player with a lot of potential and huge upside. Obviously, the Saints saw that in him too. I honestly have no idea how Spencer Rattler's career in the NFL will play out, but I do know that he'll have a lot of confidence in himself throughout the entire process. He's always had a lot of confidence, even if it was arrogance at some points. He's always believed in himself. Having everything at Oklahoma and then having it all taken away truly did humble him. Spencer Rattler's story is genuinely one of the craziest I have made a video on. From being the best quarterback in the nation coming out of high school, winning the Big 12 championship and the Cotton Bowl, and being favored to win the Heisman, to being benched and replaced by a freshman, being disliked by everyone, and being forced to transfer elsewhere. But even through all the adversity, Spencer Rattler trusted the process and came out on the other side alive. Now, being drafted by the New Orleans Saints, Rattler has a serious chance at proving himself as not just a great quarterback, but as a great leader and a great teammate too.